Ban na hÉireann. This presentation focuses on the art and lives of a number of women artists in the revolutionary period. It was a time when people formed groups and fora outside the constraints of the colonial state and institutionalised religion. They discussed new and innovative ideas about politics, literature and art. They were reimagining Ireland, and as a result, a range of original political thinkers, activists and artists emerged, some of whom went on to play leading roles in the future of Ireland. This image of a gathering of Conrad na Gaeilge is an example of one such group. This generation were tired of the old ideas of obedience to authority. Some of them had opportunities to travel and study in Europe. Many of them were idealists. They were young. They wanted new social and economic opportunities and to take charge of their own destinies. Some of them chose to wear Irish designed and made clothes, like Thomas and Muriel MacDonagh in this image. The more radical of them met in secret to plan to overthrow British colonialism. Ireland's interests would be best served outside the empire. The women artists in this presentation were part of this young generation. Some of them studied in the Dublin Metropolitan College of Art, which itself was part of the ferment of ideas in Ireland at the time. They came almost exclusively from middle and upper class families. They were cartoonists, painters, sculptors, stained glass artists, illustrators and stamp designers. Some of them joined women's organisations such as the Suffragettes, Kilmainham and the more militant Irish Citizen Army, and became involved in the 1913 lockout and the Easter Rising. The tradition of representing Ireland as woman or mother in the political propaganda of the Young Irelanders, the Fenians, and the 1798 commemorative imagery was largely inspired by 19th century Romanticism, realism, and religious iconography. These artistic movements continued to influence visual artists. However, from the early 1900s, the women artists in this presentation were also engaging with contemporary European artistic movements such as Expressionism and Post-Impressionism. This painting by Beatrice Elvery, Éire, made in 1907, which is in the Pearse Museum in Rathfarnham in Dublin, is an example of a reworking of this tradition. Beatrice Moss Elvery's family were the owners of the famous sport shop Elvery's. Her ancestors were silk merchants in Spain. This portrait of Beatrice Elvery was painted by William Orpen in 1909. While at the Dublin Metropolitan School of Art, she met students with an interest in the Irish cultural revival and the nationalist movement. Beatrice illustrated a book, Isa Gan agus Scéalta Ella, by Padraig Pearse, published by Conrad na Gaeilge. Frances Trench was the British-born daughter of an Anglo-Irish family. She joined Conrad na Gaeilge in 1908 and changed her name to Sive Trinseach. In 1914 she established a branch of Kilmainham in Lusk and played her part in the Rising. Sive continued to paint but sadly died during the Spanish flu epidemic in October 1918. Lily Williams grew up in a Presbyterian middle-class Dublin household. She studied in the Dublin Metropolitan School of Art with Walter Osborne and developed what has been described as a loose impressionistic style. In 1907, Arthur Griffith asked Lily to design stamps for Sinn Féin, which sellers placed alongside English postage stamps, a practice borrowed from the Fenians, raising both funds and publicity for Sinn Féin. She also painted this portrait of Arthur Griffith. Alice, who was an Irish nationalist, journalist, poet, writer and activist in Conrad na Gaeilge, was born and raised a Methodist in Gortmore, County Tyrone. While primarily a poet and writer, she was also versatile in graphic design and was proficient in the use of magic lantern projection, a forerunner to film. She was also proficient in the use of tableaux vivants, a genre born in the 1830s, where a cast of characters represented scenes from literature, art, history, or everyday life on stage. Actors stayed silent and immobile for 20 or 30 seconds. Sometimes a poem or music accompanied the scene. This is a scene from the play Queen Maeve, performed in Belfast in 1898. Elise McGowan and Kathleen Davidson acting in a tableau vivant. Estella Solomons, another student of the Dublin Metropolitan School of Art, was the daughter of a well-known Dublin Jewish family. She visited Amsterdam, and as a result, Rembrandt became a lifelong influence on her sketching and brushwork, starting with drawings of inner-city Dublin streetscapes and the poor of the city. Estella was sheltering from sniper fire during the Rising when she met Kathleen Goodfellow, an encounter that led to both women joining Kilmainham and a lifelong friendship. Estella was actively involved in both the Rising and War of Independence. She is known to have concealed ammunition in the family vegetable garden before delivering it to a Republican contact. Constance Markievicz is arguably the most famous woman involved in the 1916 Easter Rising. It is less well known that the Countess was an artist who in 1893 enrolled in the Slade School of Art in London. She went to Paris in 1898 to continue her studies and met and married Count Casimir Markievicz. Returning to Dublin, they became leading members of the Arts Club, where they exhibited their work. She continued to paint and sketch throughout her life, even while in prison. Kathleen Fox was born in Dublin in 1880. Her father was Captain Henry Charles Fox of the King's Dragoon Guards, and her mother was Mary Rebecca Colclough. Fox attended the Dublin Metropolitan School of Art, studying under William Orpin. Owing to her talent, she also worked as Orpin's assistant. In 1911, she went to Paris for further study, and when she returned in 1916, she accidentally came upon the surrender of the Irish Citizen Army garrison in the College of Surgeons led by Michael Mallon. She instantly recognised Constance Markievicz, his second in command, whom she knew from the Dublin Metropolitan School of Art. Realising the historical importance of the event, she made some sketches, and across the following month she painted the artwork in secret. Once it was completed, Kathleen Fox sent the painting to a friend in New York, as she feared that it may be confiscated by the British authorities. It spent the next 30 years in an attic there, before being returned to the artist. The year before she died, she donated it to the Yeats Museum in County Sligo, Ireland. Is that Margaret Skinner's bicycle on the right-hand side of the painting? Grace was born into a professional middle-class Dublin family. She was the second youngest in a family of 12. At the age of 16, she joined the Metropolitan School of Art in 1904. Grace and her two sisters were active during the 1913 lockout, and all three became members of either feminist, labour and nationalist organisations. She is most famous for her marriage to Joseph Plunkett the night before his execution on the 3rd of May 1916. However, she was a talented caricaturist and used it to make a living. She also used her art to promote Sinn Féin policies. Grace was elected to the Sinn Féin executive in 1917 and during the Civil War was interned in Kilmainham jail, where she painted pictures on the walls of her cell, including one of the Blessed Virgin and Christ Child. This image was later restored by the artist Tom Ryan in the 1960s from a black and white photograph of the original image, as it had badly deteriorated in the intervening years. Dora was a poet and self-taught sculptor who played a leading role in the revival movement. While she is best known for her writings, her memorial to the executed leaders of the rebellion brought her name back into the frame. Dora left the design for the memorial and funds for its construction in her will, a plan welcomed by Michael Collins. It was built in 1920 and is located just inside the main entrance to Glasnevin Cemetery in Dublin. During the restoration work in 2007, a time capsule was discovered in the stone canopy on top of the monument. Although the seal cylinder was left unopened and later reinterred, it is believed to contain a vellum parchment embossed with the names of all those who died in the Rising.